took last week off, so did Notre Dame. Notre Dame football from the Jersey Shore. My name's Scott Mankin. I'll always be your host. Here we go. Before I get into Irish football, let me mention something about the hurricane. Hurricane Florence down there, South Carolina, North Carolina. Obviously, Irish football, Notre Dame, Jersey Shore, rooting for those people down there. Matter of fact, it caused 3 games to be canceled. The East Carolina, North Carolina, and North Carolina State teams all canceled their games. But guess who didn't? Clemson. Dabo Swinney. See, when they came to Dabo and said, yeah, everybody's canceling their games, he said, wait a minute, we're playing Georgia Southern. I'll send a Learjet for these kids. Get them down here. We're not canceling Georgia Southern. Dabo, come on. Isn't safety more important? All right, I'm not going to look back, right? I'm not going to look back because it doesn't do any good to talk about the Michigan beat-up, the Ball State ugly fest. I'll tell you one thing Ball State did. Their coach gave them a lot of credit. Yeah, that school's about 2 hours from South Bend. They easily could have hopped on a bus that morning, taken the trip up. But what he did, which was so wise, was they came to town the day before. He let his kids, his players, go out there, get on the field, take their pictures, kind of work through the hype. They played a heck of a game. Hats off to Ball State. I think it's going to be Dandy versus Vandy. We're going to be fine. Stop the worrying. You know, fans, we're fanatics. And when we watch the players, the Notre Dame players, last week NBC did a nice job, other than Doug Flutie, with their pregame. And it really gave us a taste of the kids walking across the campus, through the student body, onto the field. And it makes Notre Dame's fans' heart race. You get the hype, you expect great things. We just didn't show up. Hey, it's going to be okay. What we're going to do, we're going to take the hall monitor approach away from Brandon. What do I mean by that? Remember the hall monitor back in school? No running in the hallways. Well, guess what? We're taking the Forrest Gump approach to today's game. Run, Brandon, run. You know, it was unfair to him to say, go out there and play quarterback. You know, these athletes are all there to win. I don't care whether it's D3 or whatever level you might be coming from. They're all there to win. They're all there to compete. And Coach Kelly, you can't send your quarterback out there and say, okay, don't run. That's half of his game. The kid's run for more than 800 yards last year. Second most? Might have been second most in school history, if not the most. So, don't do that. That just isn't right. Let's move forward. The keys to today's game. I wrote down 5 of them. First, it starts with the run, Brandon, run. Number 2, the O-line. This is the time for this offensive line to stay together, to step up and bounce back. You know, Vandy's defensive line has 8 or 9 sacks through the first 2 games. That's about 4 sacks a game. Only played 2. So they have some talent. This is going to be similar to Ball State that had some defensive line talent. Number 3, the tight ends. We're not making good use of our tight ends. We become tight end university. Let's take advantage of that. There was a play early in the game last week where we went deep to the wide receiver. And the tight end was there in no man's land. There wasn't anybody within 20 yards of him. And that went on throughout the game. Why not take advantage of a 6'5", incredible athlete? We've got a bunch of them. Number 4, secondary. You know, it was nice to see Mr. Elliott with his 2 picks last week and break that shutout that we had from the safety position. Hadn't picked off a pass in quite some time from that area, and Mr. Elliott took care of that twofold. Guess what? Notre Dame Jersey Shore prediction is today's game will have a pick 6. I'll tell you who later. You've heard the name before. Let's take a look at Vanderbilt. Take a quick peek at them. Their strength are their lines, offensive and defensive lines. But their secondary is vulnerable. They play a fourth-year senior quarterback from Philadelphia, and he's done a nice job. But I'll tell you what, there was a tweet put out there recently by their former quarterback. You see, Vandy had put up their uniforms in the Notre Dame visitors' locker room, and Jordan Rogers, former Vandy Commodore quarterback, made a mockery of it. He said that he's so sad that Vanderbilt doesn't invest in their football program and they still have those nasty old wooden lockers from back in the day. I'm surprised because Vanderbilt's an engineering school. Engineers are known to make good money. Hey guys, put some of that back into your program. Vanderbilt, 2 wins, 2-0 so far this year. They beat Middle Tennessee 35-7. They beat Nevada and our friend Justin Brent. Justin, hats off to you, buddy. In a 41-10 whitewash. So it seems like the offense can score. It seems like the defense is allowing 8.5 points a game. So we're ready. We're ready. They've told us they're a good team. They had a pretty good year last year, too. Their coach, Derek Mason, this is going to get you nervous. He's the former defensive coordinator from a team that's always been a nemesis to the Irish, Stanford. 2012, he led that Stanford defense. Prior to that, this man's been a lifelong coach. Okay, he was a DB coordinator for the Vikings. They're about to have a pretty good year. And he's been coaching since 1994. Worked his way up through the ranks. Really paid his dues. So hats off to Coach Mason. Right now, the vulnerability I see within Vanderbilt is they've allowed 46 of 76 passes to be complete. I don't have my calculator handy, but that's far more than 50%. Let's hop right to our bullhorn players of today's game. Oh, first let me give a game ball for last week's game. You know who it goes to? Anybody, any one of you fans that sat through that pathetic game. No game ball for the players. Sorry, guys. Got to do a lot better to deserve it. That game ball means something. We didn't play like it last week. Bullhorn, favorite part of the show, right? Okay, it's Saturday morning, little too early for that. But here we go. Bullhorn player of the week. Predictions. On offense. On offense, the Bullhorn player of the week is Chase Claypool. Expecting huge things from you today, Chase. Huge. On defense, I talked about a pick 6, and I've got some love for you. Julian Love. Guess what? This kid's done it before. You heard it here first. After the game, hit rewind and say, did Jersey Shore predict that? I thought they did. Of course we did. I don't see it. All right. Go back to my Michigan prediction. Who was the MVP of the game? Who was the Bullhorn player of the game? I had Brandon as MVP, and I had our running back, and I'm sorry for the mispronunciation of your first name, but I had our freshman running back as our player of the game. Where do these insights come from? You know where they come from? Watching Notre Dame football from back in the days of Lindsey Nelson. Let's move forward to further action. Hey, I'm not done with the Bullhorn player of the game because on special teams alert, we have a special teams alert. Chris Fink, again, write it down. Chris Fink will return a punt more than 25 yards. Could he go all the way? He could go all the way. Chris Fink. Final score. You know, with my Michigan game, I said we'd win. I didn't give you a final score. Shame on me. I got to demerit. My production team said, we're going to do a reshoot. No, we're not going to do a reshoot. We'll fix it in future versions. We're fixing it right now. Notre Dame, 37. Vanderbilt, 17. Go Irish. Or go home. We'll see you next week from the Jersey Shore, where life is beautiful.